Hi everyone, this is going to be the last video or screencast that I do for this week. It's linked to your assignment on summarising, paraphrasing and quoting from other people's work. So I hope you find it interesting and informative. Okay, so when writing a research paper, you're going to use the works of other writers to support your ideas, whether that's by summarising, paraphrasing and/or quoting. It's important that you use information appropriately and effectively to avoid plagiarism. We're going to discuss plagiarism in more detail in week 3, and there is a link a little later in this PowerPoint slide on what plagiarism is, so please take the time to have a look at that. Also later in this presentation, you're going to see examples of in-text citations. Now, it's not all types of in-text citation, it's particularly signal phrasing. We are going to spend time on in-text citation and referencing, documenting sources in the next couple of weeks. But I think what's important is that you become familiar with the language and the expectation that whenever you use information, you must acknowledge it. I would say that you should seriously consider buying, if you can, the 7th edition of the APA manual. It's an informative text. It gives you more information than just citation and referencing. It has a whole host of other mechanics, how to write, how to use bias or how to avoid bias in your writing. So it's a really comprehensive book that I would recommend buying. We summarise on a daily basis. We just don't do it formally. So think about when you've been to a restaurant and you tell your friend about it, or you've watched a movie, or you've read a particular book, or you listen to an article on the radio. When we verbally tell people about things, we are summarising essentially. It becomes a little bit more complex when we want to do it in writing. So hopefully the next few slides will help. A summary is a short rewording of a longer piece of writing. It uses your words, not the original author's. It includes the main ideas of a text. It provides an overview. It doesn't use the same wording or copy the sentence structure if it's a written piece of work. By swapping out synonyms here and there, you can imagine that if you take a sentence and you just flip some of the words around or reorganize the sentence structure or change some synonyms, words for synonyms, you're not really writing that content in your own words. You're just modifying. And that is a form of plagiarism that we'll discuss a little later. When writing an essay, you may want to include summaries to strengthen your own point or to show validity of your ideas. Or you might want to use short summaries to illustrate how your ideas oppose a position and why. In this course, you're going to write an expository essay on a subject of your choice. So if you wanted to write an essay, for instance, on how COVID has had an impact on the future of post-secondary education, you might turn to government or ministry websites and articles published in academic journals or newspapers to locate key information. By reading and summarising relevant texts, you are building your knowledge about the subject matter. You're being able to build your own ideas and position yourself within that information. So summary writing is really a way for you to understand information, to be able to boil down maybe a long article into a very short paragraph that details key ideas. A well-written summary retains the overall meaning of the original piece. It keeps the same order or structure and includes the important points. It's shorter than the original because it includes only the key ideas and does not elaborate with detail or any extra information. And summary length does depend really on the length of the actual article that you're trying to summarize. So, it could range from 1 to a few sentences, or it could be several paragraphs or pages, depending on the use. So In summary, it's important that you're specific but not detailed. You represent the author's ideas. You use your own ideas. You put some distance between your version and the original. You do not distort or misrepresent the writer's meaning in any way. And the instructions on the assignment outline, which is located in the Module 3 box, it really gives you a breakdown, and we're going to have a look at that, about how to apply the process. So, the first thing is to read the entire work, to read the entire article, to learn its purpose, thesis statement, intended audience, purpose. This is great because this is what we covered at the beginning of week 2 content. Reread the piece, note its major points, write them in your own words to start planning and building the structure of your summary. Reread the article and compare it to the summary that you've created. Are the key points there? And are they in the order that the original presented them in? Make sure you've used your own words, create your own sentence structures. And if you need to, you can change some words with synonyms. You just can't be writing using synonyms and swapping sentences around to create your summary. And finally, edit and proofread before you submit the work. Nobody writes a perfect first draft at all. We'll just quickly talk about paraphrases. So paraphrases allow writers to focus on particular aspects of a text and express it in their own words. In this course, you should be paraphrasing to connect the work of others to your own writing. I say you should be doing this because paraphrasing is desirable as it shows your ability to be able to understand the information. Summaries are great for you to understand, but when you want to write an essay, if you can imagine you had to build in summaries as part of your writing, that could take up a lot of work, whereas paragraphs could be really short. You could emphasize key points. Paraphrasing allows writers to condense information. There isn't the requirement to represent the original structure or flow of information like there is with summary writing. Paraphrases allow writers to draw on ideas of others, but to express those ideas in unique ways, allowing for a more selective source of reference. Paraphrases should not swap out original words of the author with synonym swapping. I mentioned this before. That's the patchwork plagiarism. And here, this link is an excellent resource if you want to have a look at this on types of paraphrasing gives a good example and a poor example and illustrates the patchwork swapping out of sentences. So just take a moment to look at that. We're going to look at in-text citations, but using signal phrases, and we'll introduce ourselves over the coming week about more detailed in-text citation, but today we're going to focus on this. Signal phrases provide a signal to the reader that what follows is an idea from another writer. They are a way to show an in-text citation, a documentation format to show the use of research. Signal phrases appear at the start of a sentence and provide a lead-in or a connection to your paraphrase and a verb. They use a verb. The verb is important because it tells the reader whether something is an opinion or not. For instance, if you were to use a verb claimed, or the verb claimed, in my professor claimed that, it suggests that there are other possibilities, there are other claims. However, if you were to write that my professor illustrated the citation methods with examples, that is factual. There is no opinion, it happened. There is a particular format to follow which uses the author's name and the year in parenthesis. The year is in parenthesis, not the author's name, not for signal phrasing. For other kinds, it is, but we'll come to that later. The next two slides show examples of signal phrases and in-text citation. Okay, so here we have, in the 7th edition of the APA Publication Manual 2020, paraphrasing is identified as a strategy that allows for greater freedom for writers to combine ideas and information from other sources. This, the 7th edition APA Publication Manual, is the title. 2020 is the year of publication. And here, page 269, is for the reader, if they want to go to that particular part of the text and look at what it is or where it is that you found your information, they can do so. Paraphrases do not require you to put page numbers in, but it's a good practice to do so if you can, or if you're paraphrasing information that comes from maybe one page. You could be paraphrasing a chapter, which is a range of pages. Yes, so, it really does depend. Here are a couple of other examples. In Making Sense, A Student's Guide to Research and Writing, 2009, the authors state that developing a sense of style in writing is reliant on understanding purpose, how the reader will be affected by it. Page 125. This is the title, Making Sense, A Student's Guide to Research and Writing, 2009 is the year of publication. State is pretty factual. However, in this next one, what I did was I built the signal phrase within a longer sentence. I added an opening phrase, an introductory phrase. So, in his comprehensive book on the development of Homo sapiens, Harari, 2014, describes how the progression of human development can be charted in 4 historical periods or revolutions. So I've used this introductory phrase before getting to the signal phrase. So you can see there are different ways that you can stylize, but essentially they're doing the same thing. A quick word of caution. Be familiar with the language around referencing and citation. I've mentioned that. But remember that whenever you use information, you must always include in-text citation and a reference. Failure to do this will result on a 0 on your paper and could initiate an academic misconduct. If you don't know what that is, please refer to the syllabus. There's some information on academic regulations. Your assignment this week requires you to practice signal phrasing as in-text citation or a method of in-text citation. The full reference will be given to you, so don't worry about that. Using direct quotes. Direct quotation should be used sparingly. Students like to use quotes because they're easy to copy and paste into documents or into papers. But maybe it could be that they lack the confidence to be able to paraphrase. But if you can imagine your paper is full of quoted material, it's really not your paper, it's not your writing. And it means that paraphrasing is probably the best way to go. It shows that you understand the ideas and you can write them in your own words and apply them to the points you want to make. But sometimes, just sometimes, a direct quote works because an author may say something in a way, very succinctly, that you could not replicate, you couldn't change. It's much better to use the original quote. And that's okay, yeah? Just one final thing, avoid using direct quotes in summaries. It becomes easy to pepper bits and pieces as part of your summary writing. Avoid that, stick to what doing the summary yourself, showing that you understand, that you represent the key points, and that you use your own words. So this week you are to read a one-page article provided to you, and you have to provide a summary, a short paraphrase of a particular section of your choice, and a short direct quotation within a sentence. For the paraphrase and the direct quotation, you should use a signal phrase as the appropriate method of in-text citation. The full instructions are on the on the assignment outline, so please make sure that you take time to read this. And I think that if you follow the process, you'll be absolutely fine. Good luck.